Hi, everybody. Welcome again to another English class here on Verbling.com. My name is Lisa, and I'm one of the English teachers here at Verbling. And in this hour, we're going to have a reading class. In the last hour, we had a great conversation class, a speaking class, where students and we were all talking about the generation gap and the idea of having a generation gap. So it's a really interesting topic, and we had a great discussion. But now we're going to what we call change gears. We're going to change gears and go to something completely different in this hour, which is reading an article that I got from, wired.com, I believe. And I put the link to the document up in the Verbling chat over there. So if you want to join this class, if you had a reservation, you can use your reservation now. If you don't have a reservation but you want to join us and participate in the class, then just wait a minute and you'll see the join class button. And when you see the join class button, it should be up there at the top, just click on it, and what happens then, if you're new to Verbling, I like to explain this because we have new people to Verbling all the time. What happens is a new window will open and you will be in the Google Hangouts. So you'll come down here with me and we will be in the same Google Hangout together. We can have up to 10 people in the Google Hangout at one time. So if you're new to Verbling, the way it works is you can make a reservation ahead of time, but you only have the first 2 minutes of the class to use the reservation. If you don't use it, then all of those reservations just get deleted, and what happens is anybody who is a member can join. So anybody at this point, I think, can join the class. You don't have to have a reservation, and you just have to be a Verbling member. So if you're not a Verbling member yet and you've been watching classes and you're thinking, do I want to do this or not, just do the free trial, and you can check it out for a week for free, which means you get to take a lot of English classes for free, which is pretty special these days. Lots of things out there, ways that you can learn English, but this is a pretty effective way and a pretty affordable way if you can take advantage of it. So if you can come to classes, then you'll get your money's worth for sure. Okay, hi Anatoly, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Lisa?
I'm doing well. How's Moscow?
It's good. The weather is not a typical winter's weather for now. Today in the morning it was raining a little. Now temperature near zero. I think tomorrow we will have, I don't know how we can say it, when lots of ice on the streets.
Icy
and
roads?
dangerous for traffic.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, usually we would just say we're going to have icy road conditions or ice on the roads. Yeah. Is it because of the freezing weather, the freezing temperatures?
Yes, because we had rain and now winter temperature.
Yeah. Do you have here in the U.S. in some parts there's something that we call black ice, and it's called black ice because you can't really tell that it's icy on the road, and so sometimes you might be driving and everything's okay, and then you'll hit it. We call it a patch. You hit a patch of black ice, and then sometimes your car will swerve like this a little bit. Do you have that in Moscow or just regular old ice?
Yes, we have similar in Moscow.
Similar, okay.
I looked quickly to my translator, to my Google Translator.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
Google translated it as a in the word which we used also
Oh, okay.
for that problem.
Yeah. That's kind of scary. The black ice can be scary because it's kind of, surprising. You don't know. So you have to be careful in those areas. Okay, so when it's icy like that, does the government, like the traffic people, do they tell people to stay off the roads and recommend that people, take the subway or, walk or something? Do they
Yes,
put out
yes,
a warning?
yes.
Hmm. Yeah. And do people listen to them or do they drive anyway?
They do drive anyway.
Yeah, same happens here. Some people are very courageous and crazy. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Ali. How are you?
Hello, hi. I'm doing well.
Good. Yeah, your picture looks nice because it's nice and sunny with palm trees there. So for people like for me and Anatoly, when we look at a picture like that, it's reminding us about the warm weather because we don't have warm weather right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Because here in Egypt is always a warm
It's
water.
always pretty warm. Yeah. Yeah. That's nice. Okay, guys. Well, we can go ahead and get started. And if some people want to join us after we've gotten started, that's okay too. You can always start a Verbling class at any time. Lots of people have opened the link. So if you open the link and you want to join us, come on into the uh, the chat, the chat room here, into the Google Hangouts, and that way you can read along as well. If not, that's fine too. Okay, so this article I got here from Wired.com. So I go here now and then. Wired.com is a magazine that has all kinds of articles, but kind of mostly related to technology and technological type fields. So science and entertainment, but in terms of like technology, video games, new technologies for entertainment, also business, but business related to not just all kinds of businesses, but technology. So, and all of these topics are all related to technology. So design, security, those types of things. So if you're a type of person who really likes the latest in technology and what's happening out there, then Wired is a pretty good magazine for that. But they also have an opinion section of the magazine or the website. And that's the opinion is where somebody writes an article about their opinion, what they think, and about different topics. So this one is called Why I Think Students Should Cheat. Now that's a very provocative title because usually cheating is very bad, very wrong. You're not supposed to do it. You can get in a lot of trouble, especially if you are caught cheating like in high school or on a big test or in college or something like that. So that's kind of an interesting title there. Why do you think it's a good idea to cheat? So we're going to read what this person has to say about it. So cheating, obviously, is this idea of, here's the picture, somebody's passing the notes to the other person while they're taking a test. So if you're taking a test and somehow you're not just using your own brain, you're bringing in some information or some notes or somebody's telling you the answer or something like that. That's what we call cheating. Okay, so let's, I'm imagining, I don't know, Anatoly, in Russia, is cheating a very big deal? Is it something that you can get in trouble, like at school, for example?
I think no. It
No?
is. I can't say that it is absolutely acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that in common sense it is a big deal to cheating during the studying. Before when people are preparing for exam,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it is not crime,
Yeah. Well,
not a big crime.
cheating is only, it only means when you're on a test. So when you're taking a test and you're supposed to be doing it, supposedly by yourself, the cheating part means if somebody else helps you, gives you the answers, or you somehow bring in notes or something else that you're not supposed to have. But just studying together, that's okay, you know. But cheating only happens like during an actual test. That's what they're talking about. Yeah. So you can study with other people before the test, but once it's the test, you're supposed to just do it yourself. What about you, Ali? In Egypt, is cheating a bad thing?
Yeah, it's very bad thing. Not only in Egypt, in all education organization. But
Yeah.
I think that yeah. When I'm calling the cheating only by yeah when my friend change our paper
Yeah.
and this yeah and this very tough to do it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can when if we anyone or anyone have to have the we are cheating,
Mm-hmm.
they drop this course and
Yes.
maybe fired from college.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you can have real bad consequences. Yeah.
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 Yeah, but nowadays I think that cheating maybe become more easier
Oh yeah,
because
with internet and stuff.
yeah, there's a lot of technology we can we can we can actually we can solve the exam or uh,
Find the answers.
all the students.
Yeah.
All the students.
Right.
There's a lot of way to cheat nowadays.
Yes, yes. And this article is specifically talking about students cheating, so at school, in an educational setting. But I do just, for the purposes of helping you with English, cheating is used in a lot of different connotations also. So cheating on your spouse, that's used if you have an affair, for example. Cheating on your taxes, which means you don't pay what you should be paying or something, cheating on your bill when you don't pay the bill. So that cheating in a card game, for example, or any kind of game, cheating in a sports game. Some people are accused of cheating somehow. So the word cheating can be used in many different situations, different games, different environments. But for this article, it's just about students and in a classroom situation. Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? Why I think students should cheat. It's kind of a dramatic way of writing, so you also pay attention to the tone of the author's voice there. You have been kidnapped and dragged off to a remote location where your abductors have tied you to a chair. That's pretty dramatic right there. One of your captors is seated in front of you. He holds up 10 flashcards and informs you that he is going to ask you a series of questions, and the answers are printed on the backs of the cards. He assures you that once he has finished asking these questions, you will be released. Okay, Anatoly.
Mhm. Why I think students should cheat. You have been kidnapped and dragged off to a remote location where your abductors have tied you to a chair. One of your captors is seated in front of you. He holds up 10 flashcards and informs you that he is going to ask you a series of questions, and the answers are printed on the backs of the cards. He assures you that once he has finished asking these questions, you will be released.
Okay, very dramatic start to the article here. Hi, Ken. We're just getting started.
Yes, hello.
Okay. All right. So, kidnapped means somebody has taken you, stolen you, and then they've dragged you off. Dragged you off means take you, kind of maybe pull you by the hand and take you somewhere where you don't want to go, maybe, to a remote location. So to a remote means it's kind of far away. It could be like in the other building in a school where not very many people are, something like that. It's being dramatic here. Your abductors. An abductor is the person who kidnaps another person. All right, and they tie you to a chair. So this is like you're being stolen, kidnapped, and held hostage or something like that. So one of your captors, the person who captured you, so same as abductor, same idea, they're seated in front of you. So sitting there, so you have a picture, a mental picture, a picture in your mind of what's happening here. And this person, your captor, holds up, it means holds up in his hands, shows you 10 flashcards. Flashcards are just little pieces of paper. It's a way that people study. So you have maybe like a definition on one side and the word on the other side. That's the way to study. And he informs you, so he tells you that he's going to ask you a series of questions. So some questions. And then the answers are printed on the back of the card. That's what flashcards are. He assures you, so he tells you, for sure, he makes you feel more comfortable by saying that when you're done answering the questions, when he's done asking you the questions, you will be released. So the image there is like you're a prisoner, something like this. You've been taken away, and now you're going to have to take a test. So that's the idea. It's kind of very dramatic setting. There is a catch, though. For every question you get wrong, he will signal his accomplice to cut off one of your fingers. As he begins to read the first question, you notice there is a mirror on the opposite wall where you can see the reflection of the text on the card. Because you have been taught that cheating is dishonest, you interrupt your kidnapper and let him know that you are able to read the card and that he must conceal them better so that you cannot inadvertently cheat. Silly. Ali.
Yeah, there is a catch. So for every question you get wrong, you will signal his accomplice to cut off one for your fingers as he begins to read the first question. You notice there is a mirror on the opposite wall where you can see the reflection of the text on the card because you have been taught that the cheating is dishonest. You interrupt your kidnapper and let him know that you are able to read the card and that he must conceal them better so that you cannot inadvertently cheat.
Good. All right, there is a catch. That's an expression. So this is, you're going to do this, and then here's the catch. So this is kind of like the piece of information that you didn't know ahead of time. So it's kind of like the tricky thing that's going to happen. What's going to happen? What it is that if you get a question wrong, he's going to signal, he's going to give a signal to his accomplice. The accomplice is the person who's doing the same thing you're doing. You're kind of like your partner. It's another way to say you're a partner. So, and the partner is going to cut off, sounds terrible, cut off one of your fingers every time you get one of the questions wrong. So this is a very serious situation. And then what happens is he starts to read, but then you notice a mirror. So you have an image in your mind. There's a mirror up on the opposite wall to where you're sitting, and so therefore you can see the reflection. So in the mirror you can see the text, the answers basically. You can see them on the card. And here's the thing that he's saying. Because you have been taught that cheating is dishonest. So here in the United States we try, teachers, adults teach children that cheating is dishonest. It's not honest. It's not good. It's a bad thing to do. So because you've been taught that, you interrupt your kidnapper. So you interrupt means you stop and you say, hey, wait a minute, and you let him know. That means you tell him. You tell him that you are able, that you can read the cards, and so he must conceal them better. He has to hide them. So he can't let you see the answers, because then you'll just cheat and you'll get the answers right. So this inadvertently means you do it but you don't mean to, but it's right there so you can see it. So inadvertently means you do it but not wanting to, or not meaning to, but it just happens that way. So you don't want that to happen. So you tell him. You're trying to be honest. Okay, here the story continues. He adjusts himself accordingly and proceeds to ask you a series of dry and uninspired questions on topics that hold no interest for you, while his accomplice menacingly holds out a set of cutting pliers. That's a terrible image. While cheating is technically wrong, everyone should cringe at this conception of morality because it fails to account for context. In this example, cheating is not only justified, it is necessary because it aids a helpless victim who has been involuntarily subjected to unreasonable conditions. Unfortunately, this kind of clarity is absent when it comes to compulsory education. Okay. Ken?
He adjusts himself accordingly and proceeds to ask you a series of dry and uninspired questions on topics that hold no interest for you, while his accomplice menacingly holds out a set of cutting pliers. While cheating is technically wrong, everyone should cringe at his conception of morality because it fails to account for context. In this example, cheating is not only justified, it is necessary because it aids a helpless victim who has been involuntarily subjected to unreasonable conditions. Unfortunately, this kind of clarity is absent when it comes to compulsory education.
Good. All right, so I'll go over some words now. Let me just say hi to Antonio. Hi, Antonio. Welcome. I just muted you just because I heard a little noise in the background. Maybe you were adjusting yourself or something. Okay. All right, here we go. He adjusts himself. So after the person says, oh, I can see the cards, I can see the text, the person adjusts himself. So he moves. He moves accordingly. So accordingly means he does what he needs to do so that the person can't see the text anymore. That's the image you can have in your mind. So he adjusts himself, he moves so that the person can't see, and then he proceeds. So here proceeds means to continue. So he continues to ask the questions. But these questions are described as dry. Dry means not interesting. Uninspired, so not inspired. They're not very interesting questions. They're boring questions. And they're on topics. That means they're about topics, or they're about subjects that hold no interest for you. So you're not interested in these topics at all. If you hate sports, maybe they're about soccer and basketball, something like that. So you are not interested at all. His accomplice, again, his partner, he holds these cutting pliers, and he does it, this is the adverb to describe the way he's holding them, and it means menacingly, like he's just waiting there, like he's going to, it's in a very kind of scary kind of way. Cutting pliers are things that you use like to cut bushes, plants, and things like that. Let me see if I can find an image quickly for you here. These kind of things. So you're going to get your fingers cut off if you answer the question wrong. So that's a very terrible image there. All right, so now he goes into his explanation. Cheating is technically wrong. So yeah, most of the time we would say that, you know, you should not cheat. You should take your test by yourself and show what you know. But in this case, you know, that's pretty hard situation. So everyone should cringe. Cringe means to where you go, ew, no. It's like you raise your shoulders up and you make your face kind of crunch together. That's a cringe at this idea. Conception is just idea of morality, right? Morality talks about right and wrong, you know. When do we do something even if it's technically wrong? So right and wrong. And if you think that cheating is wrong all the time, is what he's saying, then you fail to account for context. So to account for something means you take it into consideration. So you can't just say that cheating is wrong all the time. It has to do with the context, the situation. In this context, where you're going to get your fingers cut off, maybe it was okay to cheat. So that's what he's saying. In this example, it's not only justified, which means, you know, you have a good reason to cheat. It's okay to cheat, but it's actually even necessary. You should cheat because it's going to aid or help. You know, it helps a helpless victim. So somebody who got kidnapped, you know, you're a victim there. And you have been involuntarily subjected to. So that means you didn't choose, you didn't volunteer, you didn't want to be kidnapped, and you are being subjected to, which means you're having this experience that you didn't want, you didn't ask for, under unreasonable conditions. These are not, you know, good conditions. So unfortunately, though, this kind of clarity, understanding context, is absent. People don't understand the context when it comes to compulsory education. Compulsory means you have to do something. So in this case, you have to go to school. It's compulsory. You don't have a choice. So people who go to school, in the school setting, they're saying it's not clear when or if you can cheat or not. One of the most salient features of all public schools is the importance of grades. Because grades are the currency and sole commodity of schools, they are used both to motivate and punish. They are a major component of a student's portfolio and have the potential to impact their future. Educators might try to stress the value of learning over grades, but that is a complete farce. Okay, Antonio, want to read that paragraph there?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Okay. One of the most salient features of all public school is the importance of grades. Because grades are the currency and sole commodity of school, they are used both to motivate and punish. They are a major component of a student's portfolio and have the potential to impact their future. Educators might try to stress the value of learning over grades, but that is a complete farce.
Okay, here in the United States, grades are very important. So it's one of the most prominent features. There are alternative schools that don't do grades, but it's not very common. So if you go to elementary school, high school, some elementary schools don't have grades. Like my daughter's school, she doesn't have grades, but for sure in high school and mostly in college as well, the grades are very important. So the grade is what you get, you know, A, B, C, D, or F for failing. So a lot of, especially public schools, private schools have more opportunities to do things differently. Public schools, you have to have, you know, good grades. That's what you try to do. So that's the currency. The currency here means it's like what your you know, currency usually means money, but in this case it's what is used kind of like money. You know, how are you going to get awarded good grades, and that can get you things like it can get you into a good college or something like that. So it can be used for things. And it's also the sole, which means the only commodity. It's what schools sell. Grades. We give you grades here. And they're used to motivate students. Let's get an A on this test. Let's do well. Get them to motivate you or to punish you. You didn't know what you were supposed to. You get an F, something like that. So you get punished. The major component, so component is a part or part of something or a piece of something. So your student portfolio is like your work, what you've done as a student. And so your grades make up a big part of that. And it can impact your future. It means it can make a difference. It can make a, influence your future. So if you get good grades, you have a better chance of getting into a good college. If you get bad grades, you will not get into college. That's the idea. Okay, educators, teachers, principals, people in the field of education, they might try, so that's putting in the doubt there, they might try to stress the value of, to really point out the importance of learning. Here we want to learn, but really, they try to make you think that it's more important than the grades, but really that, he says, that is a complete farce. A farce is a joke. Like, it's not really true. A teacher might say, we value learning, but then they give grades and tests and everything. So, when learning is not commensurately represented by grades, students rightly feel cheated by the system and become apathetic. To insist on valuing learning over grades is offensively disingenuous and hypocritical. Hypocritical. It is akin to telling workers at McDonald's that they should care more about doing their job than their salary. Okay, Anatoly, some big words there for you.
When learning is not commensurately
Good.
represented by grades, students rightly feel cheated by the system and become apathetic. To insist on valuing learning over grades is offensively disingenuous and hypothetical. It is akin to telling workers at McDonald's that they should care more about doing their job than their salary.
Okay, I'm going to break this down for you guys. So commensurately. All right, so when learning, you're going to learn algebra, let's say, and it's not commensurately represented by grades. So commensurately means it's not related to the grade. So you're just learning algebra for, just to learn algebra, and the teacher doesn't really show you how to get an A, for example, or something, then the students rightly, so the person agrees that students should feel cheated by the system. So, if you're learning, how you learn isn't represented by your grades, then you feel cheated by the educational system and you become more apathetic. So if you're learning, it doesn't allow you to do well, get a good grade, and your teacher just says, oh, we're just learning, students don't really believe it. They become more apathetic. Apathetic means like not really lazy, but it's more like you don't care. You don't really care what happens. So to insist, to say over and over that you value learning over grades, teachers just say we want our kids to learn, we don't care about their grades, that idea. It's offensively, so offensively means it's insulting to the students. It's and it's disingenuous. It means it's not true. It's not authentic. It's not real. And it's hypocritical. So hypocritical is when you say one thing but you actually do another thing. It's hypocritical because students know that grades are important. So if teachers are saying they're not that important, we just want you to learn, students don't believe them because they know that colleges, for example, do look at your grades and you are evaluated and judged based on grades. So it is akin to. When you say akin to, it means it's like. So it is like telling workers at McDonald's they should just care about their job more than their salary. Their salary is what they get, the commensurate, they get commensurate with the salary. So you're doing a good job and you get a salary. So it goes together, Students have no input regarding how or what they learn, and they are alienated from the work they do at school. Except for a few rare assignments, students are not inspired by their work, and any personal attachment they could have is undermined by the fact that they must compromise their efforts to meet the demands and expectations of the person who grades their work. Okay, Ali.
Yeah, students have no input regarding
Good.
how or what they learn, and they are alienated from the work they do at school. Except for a few rare assignments, students are not inspired by their work, and any personal attachment they could have is undermined by the fact that they must compromise their effort to meet the demands and expectations of the person who grades their work.
So in a typical public school in the United States, students don't have any or have no input. Input means a say. You can't really say, oh, I really want to learn this, They don't have a say regarding, in relationship to how or what they're going to learn. Especially in high school, you have, biology, chemistry, physics, algebra. There's certain classes that you just have to learn, you have to take, and you don't really have any input or say about that in public schools. They are alienated from the work. Alienated means you're separated. So they're separated really from the work that they're doing at school. They're not really involved that much in the lessons and things, except for, so sometimes there might be a rare assignment. Rare means it doesn't happen very often, and the assignment is what your teacher gives you to do. Sometimes you have something that's fun or that you enjoy, but mostly students are not inspired by their work. So they're not that interested in what they're learning and the work that they have to do. Write a paper, do these problems, something like that. Any personal attachment, so attachment is like any kind of interest that you might have in the subject area, like if you really like chemistry or something, oftentimes is undermined means it kind of cuts you. To undermine your learning means you might be really interested, but you have to do what the teacher tells you, and you have to always take tests and things like that. So it's not necessarily free for you to just learn everything you want. You're undermined. You're kind of cut down by the fact that you have to compromise. You have to learn what the teachers tell you to learn. So you might be really interested in higher level math or something, but you have to do what the teacher wants you to do. So you have to meet the demands and the expectations of the teacher, the person who gives you the grades, right? So you're supposed to do what that teacher tells you to do. It's important to bear in mind that students prepare for tests with the intention that they will retain the material just long enough to take the test and then forget most of what they learned soon afterwards. This completely undermines the purpose and value of testing. Advocates of testing who denigrate cheating conveniently fail to acknowledge this. Testing demands that students view knowledge as a disposable commodity that is only relevant when it is tested. This contributes to the process of devaluing education. Ken.
It's important to bear in mind that students prepare for tests with the intention that they will retain the material just long enough to take the test, and then forget most of what they learned soon afterwards. This completely undermines the purpose and value of testing. Advocates of testing food denigrate cheating conveniently fail to acknowledge this. Testing demands that students view knowledge as a disposable commodity that is only relevant when it is tested. This contributes to the process of devaluing education.
Yep. Okay. Good. So to bear in mind just means it's important to remember. So you want to make sure you remember that students, they're really only preparing for the test with the intention. Intention is why you do something. Your intention is, to do a good job or something like that. But most students, really, the only reason why they're being tested. Sorry, I'm explaining it wrong, this sentence here. Okay, the idea, yeah, that's true. They're only preparing for the test with the intention that they will retain, which means to keep in mind, the material only long enough, just long enough to take the test, but then they're going to forget it. So that's really what kids are doing. They realize, I got to study, I got to take a test, but I just have to prepare for the test. I don't really have to learn the material. I just have to take the test, and then I can forget about it. So that is undermining the purpose and the value of testing, because teachers think testing actually shows what the student has learned and what they haven't learned, but that's not how the students usually see it. They just want to get a good grade on the test, and then they forget about it. So for them, it's not usually about learning, and so this totally undermines the idea. It cuts away at the reason why you even have a test. So an advocate of something or for something is somebody who believes it's a good idea. So people who think that testing is a good idea, they denigrate cheating. Denigrate means to put it down, to make it wrong, to say, oh, it's very bad if you cheat, because they conveniently fail. Conveniently means like, that's a very sarcastic use of the word there. So conveniently means like they don't want to really acknowledge this. So they're failing to acknowledge that students do this. They think, oh, we're just testing, we're seeing who really remembers things, what did people learn? But that is not really what's happening in a lot of public schools. Testing demands. So kind of here it means requires. It's like a no-brainer, this is going to happen. That students view knowledge as something that you can throw away. Disposable means you can just throw it away, like a commodity. It's just something that is disposable. You learn it for the test, and then you just throw it away. It's only relevant, only important when something is being tested, and this contributes to. So this kind of adds to the process of devaluing education. So when you no longer really value learning things, you just want to test it, and then people forget it. So that happens a lot here in the United States. Maybe other countries too. We'll talk about that in a minute. The benefits of cheating are obvious. Improved grades in an environment where failure is not an opportunity for learning, but rather a badge of shame. When students do poorly on a test, there is no reason for students to review their responses, because they will likely never be tested on the same thing ever again. The test itself is largely arbitrary and often not meaningful. Organizations such as Fair Test are devoted to sharing research that exposes the problems of bad testing practices. Okay, let's see. Is it Antonio's turn or Ali? Did I go with you, Ali? I think it's Antonio. Okay, Antonio?
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
The benefits of cheating are obvious. Improved grades in an environment where failure is not an opportunity for learning, but rather a badge of shame. When students do poorly on a test, there is no reason for students to review their responses because they will likely never be tested on the same thing ever again. The test itself is largely arbitrary and often not meaningful. Organizations such as FAIRTEST are devoted to sharing research that exposes the problems of bad testing practices.
Good. All right, so the benefits of something, what's good about it. So what is good about cheating? That's obvious. You can have improved, so better grades in an environment, in an atmosphere, in a place where failure, so doing poorly on a test, is not really an opportunity for learning, like some people think it is. Oh, you just take the test and find out what you know, what you don't know, and then study what you didn't learn. But rather, it's a badge of shame. So if you have a D or a C or an F on your test, you're ashamed of that, and it's like you're wearing a badge, something that shows to everybody that you didn't do very well. So when students do poorly, when they get a poor grade, they don't do well on the test, there's no reason for students to review. Review means to go over again their responses, because this is the key point. They will likely never be tested on the same thing ever again. So, in a school situation, you have to learn it, you get tested, and then you go to the next unit, the next chapter. You don't really review and really learn it. You just keep moving ahead in the class. That's how the classes are set up. The test itself is largely arbitrary. Arbitrary means there's no real reason. It's just like kind of random. Why are you taking this? Why are you putting this on the test? It's not very meaningful. Of course, some tests are better than others, but this is like a generalization. So there are some organizations that are devoted to, so that's part of their work, is they really want to share research that exposes the problems. To expose means to show. It shows the problems of bad testing practices. So practice here means the practice of doing it. So when teachers are making tests that are not meaningful, they don't really help students. The main arguments against cheating in school are that it is unethical, promotes bad habits, and impacts self-esteem through the attainment of an unearned reward. None of these concerns are even remotely valid because none consider the environment. Children are routinely rounded up and forcibly placed in an institution where they are subjected to a hierarchy that places them at the bottom. Like the hostage, they are held captive even if they are not physically bound. Okay, Anatoly.
The main arguments against cheating in school are that it is unethical, promotes bad habits, and impacts self-esteem through the attainment of an earned reward. None of these concerns are even remotely valid because none consider the environment. Children are routinely rounded up and forcibly placed in an institution where they are subjected to a hierarchy that places them at the bottom. Like the hostage, they are held captive even if they are not physically bound.
Okay, the arguments against something, why people are against it. In this case, cheating, and it's unethical. So it's not ethical, it's not moral, it's not a good thing to do. And it promotes or it encourages bad habits, and it can impact your self-esteem if you attain. Attainment means you get. So you get a better grade, let's say, than you really deserved. So it's an unearned reward if you cheated. But he's arguing that none of these concerns are even remotely valid. Remotely valid means okay or accurate, because they're not considering the environment. And then he describes the environment. So the environment of school is kind of like a prison here. You are routinely means often, all the time, it happens all the time, rounded up. So this is talk about prisoners. When you go into a neighborhood and you round up the gang members, it means you gather them up. And then, so the children are gathered up by their parents, and then they're forcibly, they don't have a choice, placed in an institution, the school, where they are subjected to, where they have to experience a hierarchy, levels, and they are at the bottom. The top are the teachers, the principals, and the bottom are the kids. And like the hostage up at the top that we read, they are held captive. So if you hold somebody against their will, that's being called held captive. That's how you explain hostages. They're being held captive, even if they're not physically bound. So they don't tie them to their desks or to their chairs or something like that. But they are there, oftentimes, not really wanting to be there. That's the idea. They are deprived of any power over their own lives, including the ability to pursue their interests, and are subjected to a barrage of tests that have consequences for each wrong answer. Maintaining ethics is part of an unwritten contract of being a willing participant in a community. Students placed in school against their will and routinely disrespected have no obligation to adhere to the ethical codes of their oppressors. Okay, Ali. Ali, your microphone is muted. Ali? Ken?
Sorry, I can't.
Oh, there.
No.
There you go. Okay, Ken? His kids are in the background. That's okay. Ken, you can read that part.
Okay. They are deprived of any power of their own lives, including the ability to pursue their interests, and are subject to a barrage of tests that have consequences for each wrong answer. Maintaining ethics is part of an unwritten contract of being a willing participant in a community. Students placed in school against their will and routinely disrespected have no obligation to adhere to the ethical codes of their oppressors.
Yeah. So talking about children, they're deprived of, so that means they don't get any power over their lives. So they don't get to choose, including the ability to pursue their interests, to study the things that interest them. And they're also subjected to, which means they have to take a bunch of tests. So a barrage means a lot of tests. And these have consequences. Every time they get something wrong on the test, they have a consequence. But he's arguing that, to maintain ethics, to be ethical, it's, you have to be a willing participant in a community if you're going to be an ethical person. You have to agree to be in the community. Students oftentimes are placed against their will in school. They're sent to school, but they don't really want to be there. So they're not necessarily willing participants. Routinely, again, means over and over. Disrespected, so especially in some parts of the country where students, they are disrespected by teachers and principals and stuff. And so they, according to this person, they don't have an obligation to adhere to the ethical codes of their oppressors. So students are not obligated. They don't have to pay attention or conform to the ethical codes of their oppressors, the teachers, the people who are disrespecting them. Cheating is an act of resistance, and resistance against oppressive power should be encouraged and celebrated rather than deemed a bad habit or an unethical act. The concern regarding self-esteem that is highlighted by the Child Studies Center as promoting the worst damage lacks any scientific support whatsoever. If students feel bad for cheating, it is because the environment has created a set of conditions where cheating is necessary and justifiable. For this same reason, many students are proud that they cheat. Cheating often requires creativity in terms of execution, as well as ingenuity to avoid being caught. It also serves as a statement of disdain against an arbitrary and repressive institution. Okay, Antonio.
Mhm. If students feel bad for cheating, it is because the environment has created a set of conditions where cheating is necessary and justifiable. No, justifiable.
Justifiable. Yeah.
Justifiable. For this same reason, many students are proud that they cheat. Cheating often requires creativity in terms of execution, as well as ingenuity to avoid being caught. It also serves a statement of disdain against an arbitrary and repressive institution.
Yeah. Okay, so it's an act of resistance is what this person is claiming. So you're going against. A resistance is when you say no, and it's like you're revolutionary, you're fighting. To deem something as a bad habit, it means when it's called. So rather than being considered or called or thought of as a bad habit or an unethical act, it can be celebrated as an act of resistance. Also here, there's a study, but supposedly there's no evidence. It lacks. If something is lacking, it means there's no whatever. In this case, no evidence, no scientific support to say that cheating is damaging to people. So he's just saying in a certain situation, cheating is justifiable. It's necessary. In fact, some of these students are very creative in terms of executing, being able to do the cheating. They're ingenious for figuring out ways not to get caught. And it also serves as a statement. So these children are making a statement of disdain. They don't like it. They're saying we are against this arbitrary and repressive institution, which he's talking about school. Okay, so we're almost out of time. Let me see. Anatoly, why don't you read these 2 paragraphs here? And then Ken can read the last one, unless Ali's ready.
For these reasons, cheating can be a source for pride that boosts self-esteem. Given this construct, cheating is not simply something many students do. It is something all students in compulsory school should do. Cheating is a moral imperative.
Yeah, keep going.
Punishing students for cheating is completely misguided. People should be most concerned about the student who does not cheat. They are the ones who appear to have internalized the oppression and might lack the necessary skills to rally and lobby against abuses of power that are perpetrated by governing bodies.
Okay, Ken, why don't you read that last paragraph there?
Cheating should be recognized as a necessary and logical outcome of an arbitrary and oppressive institution. Pushing students who cheat is yet another abuse of autocratic power. In healthy society, people ridicule and shame those who force children to endure the kind of environment that demands they must cheat.
Yeah. Okay, well, we ran out of time. I just want to make sure you guys understand. So his basic idea here is, in this environment, cheating is good. And in fact, you should do it, because if you're not cheating, then you've already internalized the oppression. And a person who never cheats in this type of situation will probably not be able to, so lack the necessary skills to go against other abuses, like abusive governments, dictators, autocrats, things like that. And so it's kind of like forcing children to learn how to be good citizens, but really they're not learning how to stand up for their rights, how to stand up for themselves, and to go against oppressive institutions. So it's kind of a radical opinion there, and probably a lot of people in the United States would agree with that, and a lot of people would say it's ridiculous. So you get to make up your own opinion. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to talk. If you guys want, does anybody want to comment on it? Agree, disagree, interesting idea?
I just wanted to say that there are many comments about this article on original text, and we can read it after class.
Yeah.
Almost 300 comments.
Right. That's excellent. Yeah. Always whenever you read an article, it's always can be fun to check out the comments and see, because there's definitely going to be a fight in the comments section. Probably. A lot of people. Some people will agree and some people will disagree. So, yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Lots of really good high-level vocabulary. It's definitely an advanced article. I don't know if I put advanced or intermediate, but it's advanced. And so, good job. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a good rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.